106.6.
Great radio for the community, from the community.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Broadcasting live from the heart of North Manchester.
106.6.
Lunchbox on North Manchester FM.
Hi Sean, morning.
Hi, how are you?
Very well, thanks, very well. All the better for pedalling here on a sunny Monday morning.
So it was a good commute then from Manchester?
Yeah, I got off the train at Piccadilly and unfolded my Brompton and was up here in, about 20 minutes?
So, you've given a little clue away there about who you are. Just tell us a little bit about you, when you started working for the company, and tell us a tiny little bit about the company.
So, Sean, I started working with Brompton about a year ago, and
Right.
I was brought in to have a look at a sort of glorified pilot, really, that they'd been running for 3 years in bike hire. And if I go back a stage, because I'm sure a lot of your listeners don't know what Brompton is. Brompton is principally a folding bicycle manufacturing business. And we manufacture about 50,000 bikes a year in our factory in Brentford in West London. And about 4 years ago, a little pilot was run with South West Trains out of Waterloo Station using Brompton bicycles for hire. And it was a great success using season ticket holders with South West Trains. And that got people thinking that if they had an automated docking station rather than just using people to dish the bikes out, that this might not, excuse the pun, have wheels. And the advantage of the Brompton is because it's a folding bike, in the higher capacity, you don't need secondary and tertiary docking stations. And if you set the tariff low enough, it allows members, users, hirers of the bike, to keep the bike out for a longer period of time, which makes the hire of the bike very affordable for a bike which to buy in the retail market not particularly affordable. And it also allows local authorities, corporations, the NHS, etc., to put in BromptonDock bike hire schemes at a fraction of the price of other bike hire systems in the country and indeed other systems around the world, and also to run a cost-neutral and indeed income-producing bike hire scheme. So 3 years on, I took the business on last year because I thought it was a fascinating opportunity to build something which was obviously going to be very beneficial to Brompton as a brand, but way beyond that was achieving, without putting sort of too fine a point on it, the holy grail of an economic way to provide bike hire to metropolitan areas.
Brompton as a brand. I know when people say to me, think about something that's made in Britain, Brompton is without doubt at the forefront of my mind. You know, and when I've seen the videos online, some of them are absolutely incredible, where some, you know, they're not near a bike for 2 years because they're training, and you think, well, that kind of like puts everything up a notch, doesn't it? You know, when you've got that level of training and commitment within a business, it puts everything up right up there.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the Brompton story is a great one. The design is the brainchild of Andrew Ritchie, who's a British engineer. And Andrew had the idea for many years and had tried unsuccessfully on several occasions to start the business. And he built eventually 200 prototypes. He then couldn't get finance to go any further. And in the, I think it was 7 to 8 year hiatus between those 200 prototypes being built and him then starting up the business that is today, 30 odd years on, he has developed a product, as you say, which is an iconic British brand, which exports 80% of its 50,000 frames built every year. And the biggest markets, ironically, are Asia, Benelux, and the States. And if you can sell bicycles in Asia and in Benelux, it's, as we say, like coals to Newcastle.
It's a strange situation we're in now with the Asian markets, because they buy Bentleys and all kinds now. And we frown down upon the Asian markets and say, look at what they do for a bowl of rice. In reality, we couldn't be further from the truth, you know.
Absolutely, they love, you know, as they love the Bentley, as they love all sorts of iconic British brands, whether they're still owned by British businesses or not is a moot point. But you know, Brompton is another example of that, and you know, around the world, people love a good quality British product, and it's just sad that so many of our manufacturing businesses and other iconic brands have gone to the wall or been bought out. I'm pleased to say Brompton isn't one of them.
I think what happens is, as business owners, they look at things and think, we can make more money here. If we do this somewhere else, we can make more money. But then somebody else is already in that market, that, like Brompton, who will not move abroad and just gets full exploitation of that market. They're able to... It's took Brompton a long time to be able to say, well, we can potentially make everybody aware of the little bike that can. Because there's a lot of people that don't know about a Brompton, isn't there?
Absolutely. I mean, it's been a business which has had the luxury, certainly in the last 5 to 10 years, of demand always outstripping supply. But a lot of that is because it's a quality product. There's no doubt about it. It's handmade. It relies on a lot of specialist skills, brazing being one of them. In terms of putting the frame and the folding joints together, which are the sort of key to the design of any folding bike. But going forward, it's got to move now a lot quicker because, you know, as I say, 5-10 years ago there was hardly any other recognisable folding product on the market, and now, you know, 10 years on, there are a multitude of folding products, and they're a range of the very cheap up to other quality products.
Yeah.
You know, Brompton has to now grow quite quickly. If it is to keep ahead, because there are some much bigger businesses now starting to build something not as good as the Brompton yet, but you know, it won't be far off before they do.
I think the thing with Brompton, that for me, what separates Brompton from the rest, if I'm honest, the one thing that gives Brompton its true identity is I can go onto the website and build my own bike. I can't do that with the rest. I can just pick from a set of colours. You know, I can have bits of titanium on a bike, or choose not to, or, you know, I don't know what the variations are because I'm no mathematician. But if you ask a mathematician, I bet with all the various different bits and pieces and different colours and stuff, I bet there's 1,500 different options.
Absolutely, the online configurator, as we call it, is great, and we've had, I think, in the last year, we've had over 80,000 visits to that particular part of the website, with people mucking around building their own bike, and a very good proportion of those have converted into sales, which you know, is great for us. But you're absolutely right. It's a really attractive thing to be able to go onto a website, to look at that product, whatever it is, and in this case it's a bicycle, and to be able to put together exactly what you want in terms of the gearing, in terms of the colour, in terms of the luggage, in terms of the racking, in terms of the handlebar design, and put this thing together, and we'll build it in the factory and send it out to you.
How does that work then, Harry? Because there's no, to my knowledge, it may have changed, but there's no way to actually pay for the Brompton on the website, is there?
We're changing at the moment the way we go about our retail operation. But you're right, at the moment you would actually pay via the dealership. And we have a national and indeed international dealership at the moment. What we've been looking at over the last probably 2.5 to 3 years is the way that we retail direct to the customer. And we've set up a number of retail outlets, largely as partnerships around the world. We've got 7 or 8 now. And we've just set up our own that we own entirely in London, in Longacre, Covent Garden. Which is going absolute gangbusters, and is very successful. And we're looking at the moment. In fact, I've got meetings later this morning with our retail manager here in Manchester, with a view, perhaps, to putting a second retail outlet in Manchester.
That's amazing. It really is, because the more accessible you can make that product. The trouble is, from you down in London, is from what I've seen from your factories. I don't think there's much room from that location to expand, is there?
Well, we're looking at the moment whether we're going to stay on our current site or find a location close by. I mean, what's key to us is we've got sort of circa 180 guys and girls on the manufacturing floor, many of whom have key skills without which you can't build the bike. So we can't just parachute the factory up into the northeast of England or indeed take it abroad. We have to stay very close to our workforce, and loyalty and all the rest is very important to us, as it is to any good brand. So we're hopeful that we can stay on our current site and develop that out. There's one or two hurdles to jump over, and if not, then we'll relocate somewhere in the locality.
Just before we start talking about your amazing docking ideas, and that I'm absolutely blown away with, that I didn't even know was at the back of Piccadilly Station, wasn't aware that was there till it was on the Brompton website digging around. I want to just ask you two quick questions. Why don't you make the Brompton out of aluminium or aluminum, as some people call it? I mean, it's steel, isn't it? And I mean, this is a folding bike that we're expected to hoik about. So why is it made from steel?
I'm not the engineer, Sean, but I think there's some properties with aluminum or aluminium which don't lend it to the braze and the fold that we require. But beyond that, I won't go into technicalities. But it's I don't think it's an appropriate material for what we're trying to do with what we're trying to do in terms of the manufacture process.
Fully understand. And do you know anything about the gearing system? Because when you go up to 6 gears on a Brompton, it gets complicated, doesn't it? Because there's this plus 12 and minus 8 and a neutral gear. What's that all about?
Effectively, again, don't get me too technical here, Sean, because I'll go red with embarrassment. But you can situate the range of the gears, so you can either have your 6 in a higher range or in a lower range, depending on whether you think you're going to be doing more very extreme hill work or less extreme hill work, in which case you're more suited to having the lower range. What it means is you've just got a bit more flexibility with. On the open market, 6 gears is a pretty low range of options, but actually, for a folding bike, that's pretty exceptional.
In reality, I've tried an 18-gear bike. What I tend to find is you're only really using 3 of those gears anyway.
Absolutely, and I think for unless you're a professional or you're a club cyclist and you're out every weekend, to have 25, 30 gears is frankly unnecessary, and most people get put off because it's too much choice.
When's the Brompton bike race this year? Is it going ahead?
Brompton World Champions. I should know the date, shouldn't I? It's in July. We maybe come back to that one in a minute.
Yeah. He's fantastic, isn't he? He's got his little notebook out, his Brompton notebook of all his useful contacts.
Sunday the 27th of July, Sean.
Look at that. Now, if I was kind, I'd edit that bit out, but I'm not that kind, so I'm going to leave it in because I find it quite amusing. And no doubt Harry will be taking part.
North Manchester 106.6.
Lunchbox on North Manchester FM. How do you see that docking system changing public transport for people in Manchester? Because we've only got one so far, haven't we?
That's right. We've got the single dock at Manchester Piccadilly, which was funded by Virgin Trains through the Department for Transport. This initiative the government was keen to promote, which was integrated travel. What does integrated travel mean? Well, in this instance, it means perhaps not driving your car 3 miles to your local station, parking at a prohibitive daily charge, and jumping on the train and then getting into a city centre and taking public transport to your place of work, but cycling from home to the station, folding a bike, taking it on a train, getting off at the other end, unfolding the bike, and then cycling to your place of work. That reduces car park pressure at stations, allows perhaps young mothers and older people to use trains during the middle of the day when they can't get to commuter stations because the car parks are full and therefore won't go on the train for that reason. And also it takes the burden off public transport in city centres, because more people are then going to cycle those short distances at the other end rather than take the bus or the metro or the tube, depending on where they are. So that was the reasoning behind the DFT funding train operators developing this concept. We were the only folding bike with a bike hire business, and that's how the Manchester Picadilly Dock was born, and it's been in operation now for nearly 3 years. There are 40 bikes available, and while we haven't been promoting it particularly hard, while we've been developing our system and our software and the way that we operate, I'm pleased to say this year, having started to promote things a little more, we've got average utilisation probably now of about 40% of those 40 bikes, and our membership is somewhere in the region of 250 members. And across the network, we've only got 30 docks in the country, but we are the biggest by network, not by fleet, bike hire business in the country. We've got somewhere in the region of 130, 140 members joining a week at the moment, which, without really promoting it beyond a few Google AdWords, is very encouraging.
It's huge, that really, isn't it? I mean, it's a huge number it must have been in the early stages, when you come to research whether or not it was worth, certainly from Virgin's perspective, but laying out money for pods and or docks and bikes and everything else. It must have been something that their number crunchers investigated to see how many times a week people were searching for bike hire in that part of Manchester, eh?
I think what's really interesting is going back to your question before, Sean, is what can we do with this in Manchester? Well, we've got what have we got? Those 40 bikes there, and they're branded Virgin bikes, and a lot of people are now realising just what a cost saving having a folding bike means in terms of not having to park cars, not having to take public transport, and also it's giving people a bit of exercise at the start and the end of the day if they're commuting, which perhaps they wouldn't otherwise get, which I think we'd all agree is beneficial and agreeable, particularly when it's not raining. Yeah. But the advantage of our system is that each of our partners, and our partners range, as I say, from universities to local authorities to developers to the NHS, to train operating companies and many others, is that you can put a network in very quickly, and all the bikes are interchangeable across the network. So, for instance, in Manchester, were Manchester City Council, who we're in discussions with, if the two main universities, if a major developer such as Beale Holdings, were all to put docks in, and they're all considering this concept at the moment, then you'd very quickly have a network within the city centre, and it doesn't need to be in the city centre. I'm popping up to Rochdale in a minute to have a chat with the local authority there. Then you can very quickly have 300-400 bikes in a network. All the bikes are interchangeable, whether they're owned by Manchester City Council or whether they're owned by Virgin Trains or they're owned by the developer or by the university. It matters not. And indeed, they can be interchangeable around the network. What it means to the partner is that for a fraction of the cost of installing a scheme such as the Barclays scheme in London, where, believe it or not, it costs nearly £22,000 to install each bicycle.
That's lunacy, isn't it?
We can install a bicycle which I think we'd all agree is more flexible and it got a much more comfortable and good ride with 3 gears rather than none, for under £3,000. So 22,000 versus 3. And beyond that, the most important thing is that if each dock owned by that respective partner gets to 40% utilisation through the year, so very simply put, if there were 10 bikes in the dock, 4 were used continually through the year, then that dock is cost neutral for that partner to operate. So you don't have this ongoing liability, which the Barclays scheme and many other bike hire schemes have, which runs, for the Barclays scheme into nearly £20 million this last year in terms of running costs, which is a huge amount of money. Manchester City Council and no other local authority has the budget to justify spending that amount of money year on year, keeping a bike hire system going. Ours allows them to do that and to at least run a cost-neutral scheme.
How do you find getting through the planning hoops with your local councils then, Harry? Is that something that you find easy?
Our current design of dock does not require planning permission.
That's incredible.
So, and largely they're solar powered, which means that we don't need any site works. So you can plonk the box down on the ground, and that allows that's one of the reasons why we can install for significantly less.
I mean, it's just getting better and better. Every word that's falling out of your mouth is just getting better and better and better, isn't it? From the point of view of the environment, there's no digging up. If we've got somewhere that's comparatively flat and even, which outside a train station, there's plenty of places, university. I can think of, you could probably put 300 of them docks around the Manchester University, and in reality you could stick 20 down there, and they'd probably be full capacity because it's cheap to do, isn't it?
Absolutely, and now we're starting to market the thing a little more. We've got 3 public docks in London, and unsurprisingly, they're all at over 50% utilisation. So, the sky's the limit with this, and I expect your listeners are probably wanting to know what it costs.
That's the next question. Yeah, what does it really? What's the hidden charge? And what does it cost? Well,
it does get better and better because you can join for £1, and you can take a Brompton bike out for 24 hours. It'll cost you £5 for that 24 hours, or you can take a longer term view and take membership for £20 per annum, and take a bike out for £2.50 every 24 hours. And if, like most people, you want to join for £1, give it a go and see what it's like, then you realise actually how this can really help speed your day and save a lot of money through the week. Then you can convert for £19 from being what we call a leisure user to a frequent user.
That is good, that, isn't it? Because most of the time, I mean, if you think about conventional business, they'd say join for £1, it'll cost you £5. And then they'd be whacking another £1 off you, wouldn't they? That's the way it traditionally works in business, doesn't it?
Mm.
Whereas Brompton's saying, you've already given us £1, now if you just top that up with another 19, and in reality, if you're going to hire one of these bikes, folks, you want to be looking at just laying out £20, because if you keep the bike for 3 days or 4 days, 4 days is only going to cost you £10. Does that come out of your bank, Harry?
Yeah, you give your credit card details and sign our terms and conditions when you join, and that's very simply so that we don't get a wise Alec joining the scheme and then deciding that they'd like to post the bike on eBay. So there are some pretty prohibitive costs if you haven't returned the bike for obvious reasons. But we will charge automatically once each 24-hour tariff is achieved.
So if I went down and just took a bike from the dock and kept it for 100 non-stop days, is that allowed?
Absolutely. We would automatically, our system will flag up when you've had the bike for a certain amount of time, and we'll check that you're happy and all the rest, just because A, good customer service, but B, obviously an initial security concern that bike is still in your possession. But beyond that, we encourage with this low tariff a longer loan rather than a grab and go like a borrow scheme. And it's because it's a folding bike that you charge the lower tariff, because that prevents you having to put in secondary and tertiary docking stations. You don't want people to have their bike folded, as I've got here in the studio, thinking it's burning a hole in their pocket. You want them to be able to have the secondary docking station, which is the boot of the car, which is the office, which is their flat, which is their meetings during the day, and to be able to keep it knowing that is a flat charge for that 24-hour period.
Yeah, I think it's great. I really do. Over the period of 10 days, it's costing you £25 if you have that bike out for 10 days. To be honest, if you take a bike out and you only want it for 3 days and you've kept it for 10, there's no great love lost there, is there? Take it back, the charges stop. It's not as if you've got to, take it back between the hours of 9 and 5 and all that caper, because the bike's got some sophisticated technology on it, hasn't it, that just tells that dock, I'm home.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons we've taken a bit of time to develop the scheme, because, for a relatively small business, Brompton, its brand is perhaps bigger than the business. We've had to invest a huge amount of money in developing this network, the software, the electronics, the hardware, and everything in between, and the way that we register the bike and keep tabs on that, so that we're able to record the fair tariff for the membership. But there's no catch. It's fantastic value, and for what looks to the uninitiated like a sort of clown bike, is a surprisingly good ride. And that's part of why we're doing this, because we want more and more people in this country to appreciate this British brand. And as we grow our manufacturing process, we don't want to have to export 80%. We want to sell a lot more bikes in this country, and we see no reason why we should be a largely London-centric brand. We want to be a national brand.
4 years ago, the Brompton was something that I didn't even know about, and then I started to see. It was around about the time of the property market crash and the financial disaster. I was driving through town and I started to see all these people going around on these clown bikes, as you refer to. And I thought, they don't have like a funny looking thing. I wonder where they're getting these bikes from. And then one passed me when I was out on the pavement, and I just caught the word Brompton. And to come home, started to search for this word Brompton. Before I knew it, I'd left your website, and I was now on YouTube watching kids doing stunts on Bromptons. And I thought, this is way different to what I recognise as a folding bike when I was a child. Because a folding bike when I was a child would traditionally go up and down the curb half a dozen times, and then it would unfold. It'd just do its unfolding thing. But the Brompton seems to be a really strong construction, well thought out design. It's folding and unfolding time and time again, and it really does seem to be the superior product in the folding bike market.
I think I think it is, and I don't say that because I'm an employee of the business, but I've had mine for 18 years now. And wherever I've been in the world, my Brompton's followed with me, and I can't tell you how much time and money it's saved. As I say, it's not just a commute tool; it's brilliant for leisure as well. I think what's interesting for Manchester particularly is you've got this fantastic canal network, and the ability, and I know it's already started and in some places is well established, to optimise some of the many canal towpaths as cycleways.
Yeah.
Because it's just fantastic to be able to cycle away from the traffic, and we all know the limitations of cycling with traffic all over the country and indeed around the world. But I think Manchester's got a real opportunity to develop the towpaths in many places not appropriate everywhere into cycleways, and just a fantastic way to get around the city in a safe and really fun environment. So,
do you want to tell our listeners, Harry, how they can find out more about the Brompton Dock, where they can find the Brompton Dock? Because there's just one in Manchester at the moment, isn't there?
That's right, there's only one in Manchester, but anybody who passes through Manchester Picadilly once, twice a week or every day, obviously it's going to be convenient for them. And if you live a bit further afield, well, for £2.50 a day, I think everyone would agree it's probably worth a trip down there to give it a go. You can find us best via our website, www.bromptondock.co.uk. There's also a link off the direct Brompton bicycle website, where you can have a look at the online configurator we were talking about earlier and muck about building your own bike. Join online, as I say, as we were saying before. Give us your credit card details, have a careful read of the T's and C's, sign up to those, and then for £1 you can take your very own Brompton out. And they're very smart. They're almost all, except ones that have come in from elsewhere in the network, going to be a bright red, courtesy of the Virgin brand. And the key is to ensure that the tyres are fully pumped, 100 psi. and then pedal away.
That's cool. Thanks for coming down, Harry. I hope when you're rolling out more docks, you'll at least have a quick telephone interview and say, "There's another dock coming. We've got one coming over here." You know, let the listeners know where they're all popping up.
Absolutely, Sean. Well, I'm here in Manchester all day today, and I've got 6 meetings now, and they're all about trying to build a BromptonDock network in Manchester. And I think with a fair wind behind us, we'll achieve that in the next 12 to 18 months.
Thanks, Harry. Lunchbox on North Manchester FM.
106.6.
Great radio for the community, from the community.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Broadcasting live from the heart of North Manchester.
106.6.